What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, with a look at the new LG G4, which improves upon the LG G3 in a number of ways. Basically everything has been touched and improved here, but doesn't completely reinvent it. We still get a removable back panel, which allows us to swap out the battery and expand storage all the way up to 2 terabytes theoretically, if you can find cards that size. We have a 5.5-inch QHD display, same resolution as last year, but we have a new quantum IPS display, which is brighter with more vivid colors and a deeper contrast. The camera system returns once again with more outstanding features, including a 16 megapixel sensor, which is 40% larger, which allows a lot more light in, an f1.8 aperture, the widest on any smartphone today, which allows a lot of light in. We also have the laser AF system returning once again, which is coupled with a new optical image stabilization 2.0 system, which is much improved from the previous generation, and we add a color spectrum sensor. This is a first for any smartphone today and is there to improve the white balance of your scene. Now the design is pretty familiar here. We have the sleep wake power button on the back, surrounded by the volume up and down keys, which have dual functions, which I'll explore in this video. We have the rear facing loudspeaker, which is 1 watt. So although it's rear facing, it is loud and clear. On the bottom, we have a micro USB port along with a microphone and a headphone jack. On the top, we have an IR blaster for remotely controlling AV equipment, along with another microphone. And if we look along the sides, you can see that chromed plastic finish. Not a premium look here, but it does look pretty sharp, especially with all the buttons relocated to the back. Now, if you look really closely at the profile of the device, you can see the front glass is slightly curved. It's much less dramatic than the LG G Flex 2. You can also see that we have this slim arc design, so it's really meant to kind of fit your hand. It feels really comfortable. It's actually very similar to the LG G3. And that couples with the very thin bezels on either side of the display, although the bezels on the top and bottom are slightly thicker from the previous generation. Now at the top of the display, you'll find a front-facing 8 megapixel camera, good for 1080p video at 30 frames per second. We also have an ambient light sensor, proximity sensor, and an LED notification light. Alright, so let's get to the unboxing of the LG G4. Now, the version I have here is not the full retail version. This is actually a review unit that LG sent out to me. So you can see the packaging is kind of simplified here, although it does kind of resemble what you'll get. So we have a little tab here to lift up, and on top we'll find our LG G4 with a plastic back panel, which has this metallic gray finish. I think it looks really sharp. Next up, I also want to take a look at the leather version. This was sent to me from T-Mobile. This is the exclusive preview edition. Very nice packaging here. We have our specs on the back. So let's go ahead and lift the lid here. So the leather version is available in a wide variety of finishes and colors. So this is the light brown color. I think it looks really sharp. So there you go. Really nice looking with that leather stitching. That's genuine leather stitching. Now the phone itself is identical to every other LG G4. It's just this back panel that pops off and can be replaced. Now of course the thing to keep in mind with leather is that it does wear over time. So it will patina, especially toward the edges. So let's get to our accessories here, which are non-standard. Again, this is a preview edition, so I do not have a set of headphones, but I do have a USB 2.0 cable. I have the standard LG wall adapter, and we have a 3000 milliamp hour battery. Now, although my review unit does not include quick charging, the LG G4 is capable, so you can expect that at launch. Now let's go ahead and set those accessories aside, get back to the phone here, because we do have some plastic to peel off. We actually have quite a few pieces here. So on the top, we have a piece of plastic covering the glass. We also have lots of little pieces covering the sides of the phone. We also have a little piece of plastic covering the back keys here, so let's go and pull that off. Now to help us out, they do give us this little notch along the right side to pop off the back panel. Let's go and pull that off. Now looking at the internals of the phone, you'll see we have our micro SD card slot and micro SIM slot. They are stacked on top of each other, so you slide one in over the other. We also have our battery compartment, so let's go ahead and snap that in. We have our speaker down here. And if we take a look at the back shell actually integrates the NFC radio. Now if you pop off the back cover of the leather version, you can see the plastic is color matched to the leather. We still have our NFC radio built in. Now comparing the designs between the plastic and the leather version, really the only differences appear on the back. The bezels and the front look identical between phones, so basically the back panel can be swapped out. Now there is some difference between the coloring of the touch keys along the back. You can also see that the speaker grill is completely open on the LG G4 with the leather case versus the plastic case. Now the leather back panel does completely change the experience of using this phone. It feels a lot more premium. The leather feels great in the hand and provides a lot of gripability to the phone. It also looks a lot better, at least to my eyes. But unfortunately, it doesn't provide any protection to the phone, and the leather wears over time. So you're kind of left with the decision of whether you should put a case over your leather phone or not. Personally, I prefer to wear a case on my phone to provide protection, especially drop or impact protection. But ultimately, that's a problem facing all phone users today, whether you should cover up the nice design or not. But I will say that leather and plastic is a little more forgiving than glass and metal. Now the G4 is powered by a Snapdragon 808 6-core processor, combining a dual-core clocked at 1.82 GHz and a quad-core clocked at 1.44 GHz. We also have 3 gigs of RAM. Now if we look at the Geekbench 3 scores compared to the previous generation, some pretty significant gains here, especially on the multi-core score. Now the Galaxy S6 definitely pulls well ahead of the G4 with that octa-core processor. And then we have the iPhone 6 Plus with its really high single-core score, but lower multi-core score. Taking a look at the user interface, this is powered by Android 5.1, which also features a new skin from LG, the LG Optimus UX 4.0 skin to be exact. So as always, we have the knock-on effect that allows us to wake up the device. We can swipe again to unlock it. You can double tap the home screen to lock it again, wake it up, put it back to sleep, and you get the gist here. Now you can see down below we have these quick launch icons. This allows us to quickly access our favorite apps, and this is modifiable under settings. We also have our drop-down notification shade, which looks pretty close to stock Android 5.1. Now on the home screen we have a pretty familiar setup here, and you can swipe all the way to the right to get to Smart Bulletin. Smart Bulletin is basically a list of widgets that include things like LG Health for monitoring your health and fitness, music with your music player, calendar and your events, smart settings, which I'll get to. We also have Q Remote that allows you to remotely control your AV equipment, all without launching a dedicated app. It's right here as a widget. We also have Smart Tips that allows you to learn more about using your device. So what is Smart Settings? Well, this gives you a variety of automated actions depending on current conditions. So for example, you can turn on when at home, change your sound profile. So if you want to mute your phone, you can do that from here. There's a variety of other actions here. You have when at home, you can turn your Bluetooth on and off. When at home, turn your Wi-Fi on or off. Now under accessories, if you plug in a set of headphones, you can have it turn on a specific app, and you can adjust this here. So for example, if you prefer play music as I do, you can select that and it will automatically launch play music when you connect your headphones. Now you can collapse these panels by tapping the right icon so you can see all of them, and then you can tap them again to jump right to them. You can also manage what appears here. So if you want to eliminate some of these, you can, or you can turn this off entirely. You can also just rearrange these. So if you turn this off, we're going to click OK. This will completely disappear from your home screen the next time you look. If you want to reactivate it, you can go to your home screen editor by pinching in and out. This allows you to re-add it if you want, like so. So it pops back up. And then you can also select which page you want to be the home screen by tapping this home icon in the upper right corner. You can also rearrange them or delete them by taking them up to remove. Also from the home screen, if you tap and hold, it gets to your home screen editor, so you can see your apps, your widgets, and your wallpaper. So you can all adjust that here. You can cycle between your available home screens up top. You can also tap and hold on your home screens like so to get back to your editor, your full screen editor. And then you can just drag and drop apps as you want. So for example, if we want the Photos app here, just take it over to the page you want to drop it in, and then we're good. So we can drag and drop our apps over each other to create folders. You can name the folders and change the color here. So for example, you want to change the color like so, you're good. Now you can also change the icon here. So if you tap and hold on an icon and release it, you get to this little icon editor. So you have a variety of icons to pick from. They have been updated for the new UX 4.0. But of course, you can also add new icons from the internet or that sort of thing, or just use one of the stock images. Now, if you drag and drop an icon here, you can go to remove to just remove it from your home screen, or you can uninstall it. So it's a nice quick way of managing that. Now, you can also rearrange this dock here. So for example, you can rearrange the positioning of the app drawer. You cannot remove that. You can also add additional items, which resize when you do so. You're limited to 6 here, so I can't just continue adding them until they get really small. But you can see we can add up to 6, which is quite useful. Now returning once again is this Smart Notice widget, which has been improved here. You can remove this if you don't want it, but it does add some unique features, which allows you to kind of aggregate all your notifications into one place, such as calendar notifications, some important notifications from messaging or emails or from your primary contacts, some tips about using your device, and you can manage this by going up to settings so you can see exactly what's going on in this Smart Notice panel. Now in terms of these navigation keys, of course, we have Google Now. Just swipe up to activate it. And of course, you can speak to it. Works great. We have this overview feature, which is pretty close to stock Android 5.1, but tweaked a bit here. So we have clear all. Of course, you can also just swipe to dismiss things. We have dual window mode, which we're familiar with from the LG G Flex 2 I reviewed previously. So this allows you to open up one app on one side and another app on the other side. So you have this dual window mode, and you can resize the windows here. Of course, this also works in portrait or landscape orientation. So I can browse the web, read email, or that sort of thing while watching movies or something else on the right side. Now, if you navigate away from dual window mode, just go back to dual window and you'll see recent here. So if you click recent, it will reload those pages where you last left off. Now you can also activate dual window mode from the overview feature. So if you have these open windows that are compatible with dual window mode, such as Chrome or YouTube here, you get these little icons. So you can activate it just by tapping that icon, and then I have to select another one, and I can scroll through all the available overview apps here to select the one I want here. So it stitches it together and we're good to go. Now, while you're in dual window mode, you can see the active window is highlighted in blue. This means you can navigate back or forward or scroll through it or that sort of thing. So you have to highlight it in order to activate it. So for example, if I want to go back here, then I can go back here and I can go back on YouTube. Now, this overview button also acts as a setting button if you just tap and hold on it. So for example, if you're within Chrome, this brings up a different control panel than if you're on the home screen. Swiping down from the top, we get to all of our quick setting toggles as well as our notifications. Now, the notifications are pretty close to stock Android. We have a clear all button down here. We have our Google Now cards. You can swipe to dismiss and that sort of thing. You can also expand them out. Up top, we have all our quick setting toggles, which are very different from stock Android, but you get a lot of additional controls here. So you can swipe between all your available toggles up top. You can also edit them by going up to this editor toward the right, so you can rearrange them or add additional ones, which includes Q Memo Plus, which takes a screen grab and allows you to annotate. We have screen timeout, so you can adjust screen timeout quickly. Smart share beaming, LED lights, so you can turn that off if you want. Battery saver mode, you can quickly toggle that on. Mirrorcast, so you can broadcast the display of this device onto a compatible TV. We also have Q remote, so if you want to quickly access that, which I kind of do, you can do so from that drop down. And you have screen color inversion. So let's turn those on. We're going to go back here, swipe down, and you can see the additional ones I added toward the end here. So you can add as many as you want. Now, if you ever want to quickly access any one of these, just tap and hold on them. It takes you right to that settings panel instead of just a quick toggle. So as you can see here, I've added that Q remote toggle. This allows me to quickly turn on this widget right from the drop-down notification shade, which is very useful. You can also see down here, we have our brightness controls along with these automatic modes. So we have 0%, that's as dim as it gets, 50%, 90%, 100%, and you have auto mode. We also have your volume controls, and you have your independent volume controls for all of your media. So we have quick toggles for vibrate and sound. We have our do not disturb settings, which have been separated from our volume controls here. So we have priority only, no interruptions, or all interruptions. We also have our rotation lock. We have mobile data, which you can toggle on and off, Bluetooth on and off, location services, hotspotting, syncing, NFC, you can toggle that on and off. You have your flashlight for turning on the LED on the back, which is kind of slow to activate. We have Q slide apps, which I'll get to in just a moment, airplane mode, Q remote again, that allows you to toggle that widget on and off, and color inversion. So what does that do? Well, it completely inverts the color for better visibility. So if we toggle on Q slide apps, you can see they appear down here. Also in the widget panel, this allows us to quickly access them. Now I can edit these by going to the editor, so you can rearrange them just like you can with the quick setting toggles or turn certain ones on and off, but you're limited to only LG apps because it requires specific software. So how does this work? Well, for example, if you want to bring up a Q slide app such as, let's go with messaging here. It's basically a window. We're pretty familiar with this, so you can move this around. You can change the transparency or opacity. So if you want to hover this in the background without blocking what you're doing, you can, and just bring it back up to see what you're doing here. You can resize it like so. You can also snap it to the edge of the screen like so. So it hangs out on the edge of the screen, out of view or without interrupting what you're doing, but is always present. You can tap on it to bring it forward. So how many can you bring up here? Well, you're limited to 2. So for example, if I'm going to bring up the phone dialer here, I'm just going to bring that up like so. We're going to snap it to the right here, and we're going to try adding something else here like email. And you can see I've reached the maximum amount. Now, if you're within an app here, like a Q slide app, you do have the option to bring up Q slide again. You just have to go to settings in the upper right. We also have one-handed operation here in this case, which you can swipe between the left-hand and right-hand side. Now, taking a look at the app drawer, this is quite a bit different from stock Android, but this gives you a lot more controls here. So, for example, we can see all of our widgets, our apps, and you can search this if you want, but we have options up here such as view apps by either name, download date, or custom. Custom includes foldering, so you can folder apps within here, which is nice. If you want to folder apps, what you'll have to do is go to edit or uninstall apps, and now you can rearrange them and drag them into folders like so. Now, in this mode, you can see several apps have these red X's, indicating that you can uninstall or disable them. So, for example, I can click this icon and click uninstall if I want, and off it goes. Now, for apps you can't uninstall, you can just hide them. So all apps are hideable, which is nice. So if you can't uninstall them, at least you can get them out of view. So for example, McAfee Security, I don't want to see that. I'm going to click check and it's gone. If I want to reaccess it, just go back to hide show apps and you'll see the ones I've hidden. We also have the option to show large icons here. So if you go to show large icons, reformats all the icons to a larger view. Next up, let's take a look at our settings panel, which is viewable in 2 modes. We have tab view, which is here by default, so you can quickly jump to your available categories or go to list view as I personally prefer here, which still gives you those categories, but you can quickly swipe between them. Now, LG seems to remember that this is still a phone that gives you lots of options for the phone app. So we have restrict outgoing calls with a password, which you can set here. Very nice. We also have call reject. So you can reject calls from specific numbers or from private numbers. So you can add them to this list here. You can also decline a phone call with a message. So you have a variety of canned messages and you can modify them or add new ones. We also have connection vibration, so when the other party connects or answers the phone call, the phone will vibrate. You can also enable noise suppression, voice clarity, VoLTE quality, so you either use the default quality or use clean or soft. We can also answer an incoming call by raising the phone to our ear, and you can silence an incoming call by flipping it over. Under sound and notifications, this is where you have a variety of options such as your sound profile, your ringtones, and that sort of thing. You also have vibration strength, which you can modify either for incoming calls and notifications and vibrate on tap. Under notifications, this is where you have your do not disturb settings, which you can modify here. We also have lock screen settings, so if you don't want to see your notifications on the lock screen for better privacy, you can enable that here. Now down below is sound effects, and I think this is a really important category here because on by default is touch sound, which I think is very annoying. That's this clicking, popping sound that is system-wide, so no matter what you're touching, you hear this popping sound, which I think is very irritating. So if I want to get rid of that, go to sound and notifications, go to sound effects, and turn off touch sound. Now, kind of hidden under the display settings is your home touch buttons. So this allows you to modify these navigation keys down here. So we can change our button combination here or rearrange them. So we have additional buttons we can add. We're limited to how many we can add. We can have up to 4 at once. So for example, if you want dual window mode activated and notification drop down shade, you can drag and drop it and move these around here. So as you can see, I can't just add another one here without bumping one of them out of the way. So for example, you can see I've added them so I can bring up my drop down notification shade without swiping down from the top or access dual window mode without going to the overview feature. And again, I can just rearrange these if I want. You can also change the coloring here. So if you want to change the color from black to white, you can do so. Now, another more interesting feature here is hide the home touch buttons within certain apps. So for example, if you want to hide these buttons when you're in Chrome to get a full screen view, you can do that. So for example, if I go to Chrome now, those buttons will hide. And if you want to reaccess, just swipe up from the bottom. Under lock screen, this is where we can adjust our security settings. So for example, we have the standard swipe to unlock, which isn't secure, but we also have something called knock code. We're familiar with this from previous LG devices. So I'm going to click next here. So basically you can just tap in an unlock code. So I'm just going to use a standard unlock code here. Click continue, like so, confirm. And then we have to enter in a passcode in case that doesn't work. So now if I go to the lock screen and tap my code anywhere on the lock screen, it unlocks it for me. So you can see anywhere I do that, it will unlock it for me. Sometimes it doesn't register, but there you go. Now, if you type in the wrong code, you'll actually get a little LED indicating wrong code entered. So if you continue doing that, you'll just see that red LED. We can also turn on weather animation, so any current weather conditions will actually be reflected on your lock screen animation. We also have our shortcuts here, so we can modify the shortcuts that appear on the lock screen. So for example, we can rearrange them like so, or we can just change the app. So for example, if I want Hangouts instead of the stock messaging app, I can select that from this list. Now taking a look at our storage space, it looks like the system takes up about 10 gigs of it. The rest is available to the user. You can see right now I have about 17 gigs available to me. That's with taking some 4K video and photographs and downloading just a couple apps. Under battery and power saving, we do have a few options here. So we have our battery usage information, which is pretty standard stuff, but we also have our power saving mode. So we can enable power saving mode when the battery drops down to 15%. You can also modify this. So if you want to change this to 5%, you can do that or select immediately to turn it on right now. Now you can also restrict apps in the background if you want when this mode is activated. We also have something called Game Optimizer. This is the first time I've seen this, but basically adjust video quality in games to save battery life. We also have Smart Cleaning, which will free up some storage space based on temporary files that are not being used. Under dual window, you can turn this off entirely, but we also have the auto open option. So basically, if you click on a link or open up an email attachment, it will open that attachment or link in the dual window view without closing your email client. We also have these shortcut key options, which you can toggle on and off. But double tapping the volume up key when the phone is locked launches Q Memo Plus for quickly taking notes. Double pressing the volume down key will quickly launch the camera app. You also have the option to enable quick shot. So if you want to take the photograph as soon as you launch the camera with this gesture, you can. Personally, I prefer this to be off. So let's try some of these features. I'm just going to double tap the volume down key to launch the camera. Launches very quickly, and then we're going to double tap the volume up key to launch the Q Memo Plus app, which is not as quick to launch as the camera app. The camera app is always on the ready, launches in less than a second. LG also puts quick access to some of our settings panels right within this management folder. So we have our battery saver option, so you can quickly toggle that on and off. We also have running services, so we can manage our apps running in the background. We also have storage, so we can see our storage space and what's taking up all our space. And then we have our battery usage information. Now, if you tap and hold the power button, you get to your power on and off in airplane modes here in a unique interface, which is kind of transparent. Now, if you use LG's included messaging app, you get a pop-up view every time you receive a new notification, so you can quickly reply to them without leaving what you're doing. Now, let's take a quick look at LG's keyboard and some of its customization options. So we have keyboard height and layout. You can manually adjust the height of the keyboard here. So we can go to the maximum height if I can grab the handlebar. That's the maximum height, and then we have our minimum height, and you can restore it to your default setting like so. We can also extend the keyboard to include the numeric keys in the upper row. We have keyboard type in landscape, so if you want this more traditional keyboard layout in the top, you can select that or go with this stretched view. We also have a split keyboard, so if you use two fingers to spread the keyboard apart, you can get a split keyboard, which is more thumb reachable, maybe more comfortable to a lot of people. We also have one-handed operation, so if you want to switch between the left hand and right hand side, you can select that here. We can also change our keyboard theme from white by default or black as your option. Now let's take a look at that camera app, which launches very quickly and is always at the ready, and it's a really impressive camera app. So if we go to the upper left corner, we have three modes. We have simple mode, which strips away everything, just allows you to take photographs. We have auto mode, and then we have manual mode. Manual mode is really impressive. So you can see live metering at the top here, so let me cover it. So you can see at the upper part of the screen, you'll see your white balancing and the color temperature, autofocusing. You can see your shutter speed, your ISO level. Now you can see all the metering that's going on using that laser AF system. The great thing about laser AF is that it does not need a lot of light to find focus. It's sending out its own light, which is invisible, of course. We also have our manual white balance controls, so you can manually balance these, and you get live feedback. We have manual focus, so you can manually focus your camera. Very cool. We also have our exposure compensation, ISO levels, our shutter speed, and our auto exposure or auto exposure lock, which allows you to lock in exposure. Now, if you're in manual mode, you have the option to record in JPEG or JPEG plus RAW. So you can get RAW images recorded with this camera, which is very nice, especially for photographers. And this camera is definitely capable of some impressive imagery. Now, you can pinch in and out to zoom out on your image, and it will focus pretty quickly. You can snap your photograph. You can also record video. And while you're recording in 4K, you lose the ability to take photographs here, but you can tap anywhere on the scene to adjust exposure and focus. And of course, you have continuous autofocusing. Now under settings, we have our aspect ratio for photographs, so you can select either 4:3, 16:9, or 1:1. For video, you have UHD or Ultra HD, Full HD, HD, or slow-mo. So if you want to record in slow-mo, that is here as well. We also have voice prompts, so you can turn this on and off, but basically this will tell you exactly what the voice prompts are, but you can say something like, smile. Takes the photograph for you. Another neat feature here with manual mode is this leveling indicator. So this allows you to find a level for your shot. And you can turn this off under settings. If you don't want that, you can turn this off, and you can turn on the grid view if you prefer that. Now to get to the front-facing camera, just swipe up on the screen, takes you right to the front-facing camera, or you can get back really quickly too. Now if you tap and hold the shutter release, you can actually take 4 selfies at once, and it gives you some time to repose for the shot and that sort of thing. Now you have something called gesture shot with the front-facing camera. One of them we're pretty familiar with, so if you raise your hand in front of the camera, make a fist, gives you a little countdown and snaps the photograph. So in terms of stills, you get really sharp and accurate colors, good exposure, and it's able to find focus really quickly, and the camera app just launches right away. It's always available for you, so you can easily take those images anytime you need to. Now where this camera really stands out above the crowd is in low light performance, and we have a lot of things going on here to make that happen. So we have a laser AF system that doesn't need light to find focus, so it's able to find focus quickly and accurately in all lighting conditions. We have an f1.8 aperture that lets a lot of light in. We have a larger sensor that's more sensitive to low light without noise. We also have improved optical image stabilization, so longer exposures come out more clearly. And we have the first smartphone with a color spectrum sensor, so it's able to read both RGB light and IR light, which makes it effective, especially in low light conditions. So overall, low light images come out really sharp and clear. Most low light images lose a lot of detail as it over-processes to compensate for exposure, but in this case, this camera is able to do a lot more within the sensor and within the hardware. Now, because they've eliminated the dual tone LED from last year, the LED light isn't very good looking here. It's very unnatural, but of course, with this sensor, you probably don't want to use it at all. Now, in terms of video, we really benefit from the optical image stabilization and the laser AF system. So we do have continuous AF, although it isn't the smoothest AF system out there, but it is pretty quick and accurate. In terms of quality, it's superb here. Great handheld video. Video looks clear and crisp with good color reproduction and exposure, and definitely one of the better looking video cameras out there, especially with 4K. What's going on, guys? Mike here, the Detroit Borg, testing out the front-facing camera of the LG G4, which is good for 1080p video at 30 frames per second. And again, we're working with an 8 megapixel sensor. Seems to do a great job here. Lets a lot of light in. Good wide angle lens. It's able to find exposure correctly without jumping around, although it does tend to underexpose, it looks like here. But again, a nice natural looking video, so I'm pretty impressed overall, and really good audio pickup as well. Now, although both the G4 and the G3 share the same screen specs, the same resolution, and the same screen size, the G4 is noticeably brighter with deeper contrast, so colors look a little more vivid. Whites look a little cooler, and the backlighting is much more even, although it doesn't look as sharp as the LG G3, which I think over-sharpened the resolution a bit. Now, let's take a listen to the rear-facing speaker, which is pretty much identical to the LG G3.
Survive. We are not dead! Where is she taking them? Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
In terms of battery life, I'm getting about 27 hours between a charge, and that's with fairly heavy use. And that's with the screen on for about 51% of the time at maximum brightness. In terms of on-screen time, that's a little under 4 hours, so that's pretty impressive considering how much standby time you have. Now, in the end, the LG G4 really isn't a major revolution here. Unlike the previous LG G3, this really is a tweaking of an already successful product with a great display, a fantastic camera system, pretty decent battery life and performance, along with a design that has been improved with some better materials without losing the flexibility of changing out the battery or expanding storage. So although I don't think it's the best looking phone on the market, it's definitely one of the most capable. So that's going to do for me in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.